Velmir had learned something during his time in Aldor. A man's reputation was not built by what he said. It was built by what he did, and by whether his word could be trusted. Another contract had come from Mannshire, another duty, another promise to fulfill. For Velmir, that was reason enough to go. But this time, the contract was only part of the journey. The caravan was growing, and with every journey, the caravan needed more than weapons and supplies. It needed someone who could keep it organized, someone who could manage what they carried, what they lacked, and what they would need for the road ahead. A quartermaster. So Velmir accepted another contract from Mannshire. He accepted it because his word had been given. Because the people of Mannshire had begun to understand something about the man from Skadia. When Velmir gave his word, he kept it. Their first destination was the Chapel of the Guiding Star. Bloodsuckers had made their nest there. And if Aldor needed another execution, Velmir would deliver it. Not with hatred, not with cruelty, but with the cold discipline of a man who had learned that sometimes the world demands a sentence. And someone must be willing to carry it out. The smell of blood inside the chapel was overwhelming. It lingered in the air, thick enough to taste. Bodies were piled throughout the halls. Some appeared to be victims, others were harder to explain. Were these the remains of some dark ritual? Or were they the bodies of those who had been prepared to become something else? Velmir did not know, and perhaps he did not need to. His orders were simple. The rituals had to end. But this time, his mace would not deliver the sentence. This time, it would be fire. There were things in this world that steel could kill, and things that steel could not cleanse. Fire had always been considered a purifier, a force capable of destroying what should never have been allowed to exist. And as the flames spread through the chapel, the dark symbols burned with them. Perhaps it was superstition. Perhaps it was something more. But whatever had happened inside the chapel of the Guiding Star, the fire seemed to be working. Velmir only needed to execute the enemies who sought to prevent the purge. While the flames delivered their own sentence. Each sentence came in a different form. The flames purified what had been corrupted, and Velmir's mace dealt with those who stood in their way. Different methods, one purpose. With every ritual destroyed and every bloodsucker put to the ground, the infestation within Mannshire grew smaller. But the nest itself had been growing at an alarming rate. There were more of them than there should have been. More bodies, more blood, more signs that, if left alone, this would become something far worse. Yet no soldiers had come, no hunters. No one had dared to enter the chapel and put an end to it. Only Velmir. He had come because a contract had been given, but more importantly, because his word had been given. And once again, the man from Skadia was proving that in Aldor, a promise could be worth more than gold. The chapel had been purged. The rituals were gone. The bloodsuckers had been executed. And once again, Velmir had kept his word. Mannshire had been spared from another growing threat. This time, it had been the mace and the fire that had delivered the sentence. The work was done. For the first time in hours, there was nothing left to kill. Only rest, a meal, and then the next task. The caravan needed a quartermaster, but this recruitment would not be as simple as a conversation. Before Velmir could welcome his new companion into the caravan, there was one more sentence that needed to be carried out. Another duty, another judgment. And only after it was done would the new quartermaster earn his place beside them. The quartermaster smiled at Velmir after the duty was done. It was not the smile of a man impressed by strength. It was the smile of a man who had seen something he respected. A warrior who kept his word, even when keeping it was difficult. They spoke for a while before finally setting out for the camp. With the quartermaster now among them, the caravan had everything it needed. A ranger, a warrior, a man capable of managing their supplies and preparing them for the road ahead. For the first time, the foundation was complete. There were no more empty roles to fill. Now, they could move forward. Leif knew Aldor well enough to understand what came next. The caravan needed direction. It needed better equipment, better supplies, better preparation. After claiming the reward for their work, there was only one conclusion to reach. Velmir needed better gear. The sentences ahead would not become easier. They would become harder. Stronger enemies, more dangerous places, greater risks. And if Velmir intended to keep delivering judgment, he would need to be prepared for what waited beyond the next road. So the plan was simple. Trade. Sell what they no longer needed, buy what they lacked. Travel between cities, find better equipment, gather better supplies, and slowly turn what had once been a small group of travelers into a caravan capable of facing whatever Aldor decided to place in their path. The city of Brin would become the center of their next venture. Trade. Its markets offered better prices, its merchants were more numerous, and after everything Velmir had accomplished in Mannshire, his growing reputation seemed to be opening doors that had once been closed to him. For the first time, the caravan was not simply traveling to survive. They were traveling to grow. Brin offered better equipment, better opportunities, and access to goods they could not find elsewhere. So the caravan set out once again. But Velmir would soon discover that Brin had more to offer than merchants and markets. Something else was waiting for them there. An event they had not planned for. An event they could not have predicted. And this time, they would not simply hear about it. They would witness it themselves. What had happened in Brin had been impossible to predict. For some, it might have been nothing more than a disaster. For Velmir, it had become an opportunity. He had handled the situation with the same discipline he had shown in every sentence before it. Calm, decisive, without hesitation. The caravan had grown. Now its equipment had to grow with it. Velmir's first priority was his armor. His medium armor had served him well, but the sentences ahead would demand much more from him. He needed better protection. And then there was the mace. Not just any mace. Velmir had no interest in replacing his weapon simply because something stronger appeared on a merchant's table. His weapon was part of his way of fighting, part of the way he delivered judgment. The right mace had to fit his style. Something capable of controlling the enemy, breaking their momentum, and delivering the final sentence when the moment came. Brin had many different styles of maces, but unfortunately, none of them seemed to have been made for a warrior from Skadia. Still, there was no reason to stop. The caravan was already stronger than it had been before. The equipment had improved, and there would be other cities, other merchants, other opportunities. Velmir would find his weapon eventually. Until then, he would continue with what he had. Because a warrior does not stop simply because he has not yet found the perfect weapon. He adapts, he prepares, and he keeps moving forward. next destination had been decided: Rotten Willow. The caravan prepared for the journey, not only with the supplies they would need, but mentally as well. Velmir knew that Rotten Willow would be different. Whatever waited there could not be underestimated. The roads ahead were unfamiliar, the dangers would be different, and the sentences waiting for him would be unlike any he had delivered before. But the caravan was ready, its roles were complete, its equipment was improving, and Velmir remained true to his word. For today, the journey would end there, in a place where Velmir would be forced to deliver sentences he had never imagined, sentences he could never have anticipated. Yet they would still have to be carried out, because a promise had been made, and Velmir would not break it